Okay, alright, so it's currently 7 PM, so little coffee to sort of power through the intro section of this video, but I want to talk to you guys today about two specific cameras. If you're new to the channel, you know that I've been using the Canon EOS R for the past couple of years. It's been an absolutely amazing camera. It's been my main professional stills camera since I've become a full-time photographer, and I've also been using it as my B camera to my Canon C200 when I do video work. But obviously, if you watched my last video, we can't ignore my new camera, the camera that is filming me right now, the Canon EOS R6. So I obviously bought the R6 to be a more serious video camera than the EOS R is, and it is obviously a significant upgrade to the R, but I just want to basically cover off a few things in this video as to why I don't want you to discount your R if you have one of these cameras, or if you are looking to buy one of the two and you want to save yourself some money. The R is not always a bad choice. When I was actually looking at comparisons of these two cameras myself before picking up the R6, quite a lot of the video didn't actually cover some of this interesting stuff and just sort of the quirks of the EOS R that I've found over using the camera for the last 2 years. If you're the type of person that wants like pixel peeping comparisons between the two cameras, it's just not going to be that style of video. I'm not going to be showing you literal image comparisons left to right. We will obviously talk about image quality. This is more like real world usage from a professional working photographer and videographer.
Okay, so back in a more standard setup here, I've got a trusty microphone because this room is still pretty echoey, so I like to keep my microphone as close as possible. Got the EOS R6 shooting me. I want to just keep on showing you this beautiful CLOG 3 footage in 4K full frame 10-bit 422 color. And let's first address what's obviously better with the R6 compared to the EOS R. The EOS R is, has been out for a few years. It's obviously an upgrade between the R6 and the R. The absolute biggest thing for me personally, the main reason why I wanted to upgrade to the R6 was 4K at 60 frames per second. The 4K is actually very good on the EOS R, and we will be revisiting and showing that a little bit later because one of the reasons I still love that camera, but it only shoots in 25 frames a second, or 24 or 30 frames per second. There is no 60 frames per second at all in 4K on the EOS R, and that is really starting to show its age. Next is a pretty self-explanatory one. It is 10-bit 422 internal recording on the R6. This is basically just a much better color depth. You can even now record in CLOG 3 on the R6 internally. Like I'm recording this video in CLOG 3, and that's the same codec, the same log profile that I use on my Canon C200. So that is an absolute dream, like really useful to have CLOG 3 native on this camera. CLOG is only in 8-bit on the Canon EOS R. All of the footage is 8-bit anyway. It is C-Log, but it's not really like true C-Log. The color profile has just never been fantastic on that camera, so I just preferred to shoot in standard like picture profiles, Rec 709 picture profiles. Next is 4K at full frame. The R6, there's like the tiniest crop, I think, when you switch to 60 frames a second, but it's absolutely minuscule, versus on the EOS R, the crops are really massive.
So jumping back to this shot that you guys saw at the start of the video, this is a perfect example, right? I'm shooting on the R6. I'm at 16mm on my Canon 16-35, so super wide. You can see how wide I'm getting to this lens, and this shot just would not be possible on the EOS R. I'll replicate the crop here, and you can see just how tight this is. I would have to be getting back into frame over here to be able to get a usable shot with the Canon EOS R in 4K with the crop factor on it.
Like I said, 4K at full frame. It is absolutely beautiful. It's super nice to be able to record in 4K. Like this is just, it's been a long time since I've had like true 4K, 60 frames a second on a mirrorless little camera like this. So yeah, absolutely buzzed to use it. So now we're moving on to some of the things which I didn't find a ton of videos addressing between these two cameras. Some of these sort of more like real world usage stuff, which I have found just from years using the EOS R and using it professionally. First of all is that I was worried about the resolution switch between the R6 to the R. So the EOS R actually has a 30 megapixel sensor, which means the stills you get out of it were absolutely fantastic. Like I said, it was my main photography camera. So I was worried about switching to the EOS R6 because that actually has a 20 megapixel sensor, and that can actually result in quite a big resolution difference in terms of the files that you're delivering to clients. Happy to report though, on this front, I needn't basically have been worried. Super happy so far with the stills performance. And to be honest, even the lower megapixel count seems to be helping in low light as well, which I think is definitely going to be a significant improvement, a significant thing shooting on the R6. So yeah, so far so good in terms of resolution, and I was worried about that, but definitely something not really to worry too much about. Even I think if you were to be printing these images, but for things like I mostly work on social media content, and a lot of that stuff is going to be viewed on screens. So, you just don't really need to worry too much. So overheating. Now this really is a concern. It is valid. It does happen with the R6. Now I have actually not managed to overheat this camera, but I haven't done like crazy extensive testing on it. The biggest issue that I have with this is that it is a risk. And it is a risk that a lot of the time I'm not actually willing to take. So I had a job recently where I was shooting like a full day of interviews. Some of these interviews were like half an hour long. And I actually opted to bring the R since I still had it. I shot it all in 4K at 25 frames a second, and that camera does not overheat ever. So I just know that I was going to get full reliability, as reliable as my C200, and that was an additional risk that I was not really willing to take with the EOS R6. So that is a problem. I do need to do a bit more extensive testing on this. I've heard that most of the overheating issues do come in 4K at 60 frames per second. I'm not going to be shooting long periods of 4K 60. Don't really know why anyone shoots long periods of 4K 60. But yeah, like I said, this is definitely an area of concern, but it definitely has got better since the camera launched. And on the whole, again, if you're shooting in either 8-bit or in that 4K 25 frames per second, you're not going to see a dramatic amount of overheating. But yeah, this definitely is, one area where the EOS R is a far more reliable camera. You're not going to get caught out on a shoot day where you just can't shoot. And another one here is battery life. Now, the battery on the EOS R was actually one of my absolute favorite things about the camera, and it meant that I could shoot pretty much an entire day on 2 batteries, regardless of whether I was doing photo or video. The R6 in video form seems to drain the camera quite a bit more substantially than the EOS R. So that is definitely an area of concern. I normally used to bring like 4 batteries on a shoot day. Definitely need to probably double that up to like 8, or you might get away with 6, but that is something to be aware of if you're shooting a full day of video. It is a bit more battery thirsty, so again, another win for the EOS R.
So guys, editing this video, I just realized that I actually left out a pretty crucial piece of information, and a really big win for the R6, which I have in front of me right here. So you can see here that the R6 actually has dual SD card slots, and it's a pretty massive deal that on this camera you can now shoot fully simultaneous video as well as obviously photos. So you can shoot to 2 SD cards at the same time, which is a pretty crucial thing for things like wedding photographers. But now you can also shoot simultaneous dual video, so you can have 2 feeds of the same video going into SD cards, which again, a massive deal and just something you cannot do at all on the EOS R. So if you are shooting pretty serious stuff, type of things, weddings where you can't do stuff again, you might want to look at the R6.
The EOS R in terms of stills is an amazing stills camera. The EOS R in terms of video shoots incredible 8-bit 4K video. However, there is a ginormous crop, and that is obviously the biggest issue with that camera for me. So here is the biggest differences between the camera for me. These cameras are both incredible. They're both going to be able to create beautiful looking images, but these things I've listed off in this video are going to make the biggest difference in terms of your shooting. If you don't need 4K 60, I would just recommend you go for the EOS R. As long as you're not going to be too worried about that crop in 4K, the footage is absolutely gorgeous. Unless you need slow motion footage at 4K 60, for instance, if you're a real estate video producer, there's no way I'll be recommending the EOS R to you. However, if you do slightly more narrative work, or maybe sports videography, and you're just shooting that at 4K, 25 frames a second, and it does not matter that you're in a double crop, I would definitely go for the EOS R. And that, guys, is this little sort of camera rant over. Like, it's not a typical comparison like for like between the EOS R and the R6, but these are definitely my sort of most crucial points on the cameras, and I hope you have found it useful. Let me know what you shoot with. Do you shoot with either the R? Are you going to upgrade to the R6? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you next time.